It appears that we have a quorum and it's time to begin. Will the clerk call the roll?
Esri, Bergson. Here. Harper. Here. Kurtz. Here. Petrie. Here. Schrader.
Here.
Langenheim.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Okay. Could we have the roll call? Can we have a motion to approve the minutes, approve the minutes of the ELUC committee?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the minutes of the March 6th meeting be approved. Any comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. 4, approval of the agenda with addenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now we're for public participation. Annelle Stumpf?
Annette.
What?
Annette.
Annette. Annette. 2 T's.
Oh, Annette. Okay, you're up.
Hello, I'm Annette Stumpf. I live in Champaign, 319 Elmwood Drive. And I was on the Blue Ribbon panel for the environment with a great team of people. We started our effort in, I think it was 2002. We had 50, 100 meetings, I have no idea. We talked to everybody we could think of. We started from zero, trying to figure out what was the state of Champaign County. And it was a very interesting learning experience. And we debated and argued, and we ended up with this report. And I encourage you to all read it because it's like a time capsule. There's 5 future scenarios that were written in 2004 in the back. So where did we get to? How did we, this is the result of different policies you could implement that change the future scenario. I read it again today. It took me a couple hours. I remembered a lot of things. One of my regrets is that I didn't put in here that I was really upset that there's no building code in the county. Because as an architect, I can think of a lot of different ways to cheat when I build a building. I talk to the inspectors, and they'd say they'd knock on a door, and the guy building the house would come out and say, oh, I didn't realize this was in the city. Come back later, I have to change out the wiring, because they'd use a thinner grade wire, or they wouldn't put shutoffs under the sink. So that kind of always bothered me. But and I saw Andrew had a list of what happened with some of our recommendations, because I really don't know the status of all the recommendations. But I encourage you to read it. I would encourage the county to put together another panel to follow this up and see where we're at today. I think everybody that was involved in this would be happy to talk to them. I'm also concerned about water, aquifer, watershed. I think that's I work for the Army Corps of Engineers. I do this for Army installations. Water's a really hot topic. We're trying to be more resilient, use less water. So I don't know what else to tell you, but I really encourage you to read it and ask us questions. This was a good team effort. It was a really good team. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Fisher?
Hi, I'm Jean Fisher, 195 County Road, 1600 East in Villa Grove. The other members of my group are in more fun places tonight, so I'm representing. I wasn't going to address the board tonight in reference to the RLA amendment brought forth tonight, but I commend the effort of all who made contributions to pass it and hopefully move swiftly toward enacting similar permanent implementation. But I happened to be looking through tonight's agenda and noticed the discussion and information regarding water sources in Woodlands. As you know, we are being proactive in wanting to protect the vital areas, and I was pleased to see information included. In being opposed to the original RLA case petitioner, one of the things I had specifically presented was the lack of stewardship of the conservation areas by the petitioner and livestock destruction of the woodlands along this part of the Emperor River. I cited reference materials regarding this being problematic. We, of course, are still worried that even without an RLA, that the destruction of this woodland river flow area may still fail. In the particular case, and we are not being anti-livestock, the subject cattle is not utilizing some actual pasture, but it's using some of this area with the woodlands running parallel to the river. While I understand this might be a common practice in Champaign County, what we have noticed is destruction of this area in the soon-to-be third year since the cattle has been present. I assure you, I and my husband are not complainers. After living here for 26 years and having to deal with the aforementioned ZBA cases, it is clear that the petitioner of this particular case had intentions to change the framework of what is allowed in the CR district at the district's and other landowners' expense. Nobody within a couple of square miles of the area has moved in or out of this respective CR district and has treated it with such disregard. I compare this resource to the preservation of water sources such as the Mahomet Aquifer, the limited forested acreage and the limited forested acreage likewise. Therefore, I'm wondering if the ELUC group and zoning are working on ideas of protection for this area, and if not, I am wondering if it may be presented as needing some updated ordinances. I think it can bring enlightenment to the county as a whole and afford protection for all CR district and its vitality. I think the county would benefit in so many ways. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the group? Okay, are there any communications? None that I want to pass on. Okay. Okay. Item 7, items for information. Mr. Andrew Levy, CCRP program to establish a water supply management framework in Champaign County. Fire away.
Thank you very much. I'm here to just give you a brief overview of a program that the Regional Planning Commission has developed and intends to proceed with. This is on page 6 through 8 of your packet. Groundwater is the source of potable water in Champaign County. Issues with our water resources have been noted since, or documented since 1937, probably noted long before that. I actually found a document by the previous regional planning program that the county enacted. They have documents that I have in my office, and one of them is very much related to water sources and groundwater. This is not a new topic. Recently, the Regional Water Supply Planning Committee identified Champaign County as the bullseye of concern for groundwater in the entire Mahomet Aquifer region. This provides evidence that there might be some additional steps that could be taken. RPC is interested in 5 results. First is developing a shared understanding of science, policies, and plans related to our water supplies. Developing goals and objectives, including a sustainable water supply, defining those. A menu of actions or strategies that might be implemented over time. Some tools that help us assess what we're actually doing to our water and how we can manage it study it, understand it better. And 5, essentially coordinate between all of our various entities that have a stake. Everyone has a stake in our water resource, but we have some local governments that are interested in and currently pursuing some strategies for better management. We would like to get them all in a room together to coordinate and discuss what they're doing. We've identified a method of doing this, an advisory panel that will advise the CEO of RPC on these issues. They are made up of RPC member agencies, as well as the Village of Fisher, water utility companies, and then representatives from key stakeholder groups like the Soil Water Conservation District, somebody related to agriculture, industry, and the environment. We also want to pull together an expert panel, which would be people from the Illinois State Water Survey, Geological Survey, and other area experts to help guide us in this pursuit. We see this as being about an 8-month process, which we think is very rapid, but we want to see some quick results. We think there are some things out there that we can identify. Some of those are listed in item F, problems and issues that might be addressed. We don't know whether these specific items will be discussed. It depends on who's at the table, what the current interests are of the groups that we pull together. But these are things that could be discussed and strategies identified for. Item G, local goals and objectives. We already have items related to our water supply. Champaign County does in the Land Resource Management Plan. City of Champaign has their comprehensive plan as well as their sustainability plan, and so on. So there is common ground already in some of these issues, but the way that we're working at them are different. We feel like there might be some benefit to a little bit more coordination, and the Regional Water Supply Planning Committee in their recommendations, I believe in 2009, mentioned a very similar thought, better coordination among local governments to address these issues. So that's the basics. We're really just getting started with this. Cameron Moore, the CEO of RPC, presented this to the RPC commissioners this last month. Received some feedback from them. I received phone calls today from the State Water Survey and the State Geological Survey expressing interest. They saw the agenda item on this committee's meeting. So they actually reached out to me before I had a chance to contact them and expressed interest. So that was very nice of them, and I'm hoping that we'll move forward with this. I'd be happy to take any questions or comments regarding this. Again, I'll be coming back to you with more information as I have it. Just wanted to give you a heads up what RPC is up to related to this. Thanks.
Does anybody have any comments?
Andrew, thank you very much for the update, and I'm glad to see something like this moving forward. I did send this message to you, but I do want it on the public record that right now Senate Bill 824 is moving through our state legislature, and that's good news because it's a bill focusing on the use of alternative water, meaning gray water. So this is rather exciting because our state is not one of the states in the country that allows use of gray water. So if anybody is interested in contacting any other legislators to encourage them to support this and move it along, that would be terrific.
Any further comments?
Thanks. Andrew, on the expert panel, how many members are you assuming that will be nominated for that panel or appointed? How big a group do you think? 4 or 5, 3 members, something that range?
Yeah, I have about 5 in mind, but it kind of depends on the topics. We're going to really have the advisory group identify some of the topics, problems, issues that they want to address, and then the expert panel will be comprised of people who know about those issues. We may not need certain individuals based on the topics that we're discussing. So I have envisioned between 5 and 10 as 10 being the max.
If I may, Ralph, follow up? If I may follow up?
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, of these members, of experts, just kind of I guess a outlay would be probably hydrologist and maybe geologist and
Yep, precisely.
experts like that.
Experts like that. A lot of them are connected with the Muhammad Aquifer Consortium.
Already?
That would be the expertise that we're looking to pull in.
Great, thank you.
Any further? Yes.
So you have been like in contact with Brad Yukon and his group? Have
Yeah.
been studying the recharge areas and whatnot? So,
Yes.
okay.
Brad has been advising me and the Regional Planning Commission on how to take the next step, how to take the reports that the Muhammad Aquifer Consortium has done, and kind of take the next step. So yes, I've been
right.
talking with Brad and the Farm Bureau.
All right, thank you.
Any further comments? Okay, could we have a motion to receive and place on file?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Passed. Okay. Okay, we have a 2004 report from the Environment Advisory, parentheses, Blue Ribbon Panel. Anybody have any comments?
Well, I'd like to give a little background as to why this is on our agenda. The Urbana Presbyterian Church is set up a series of 3 talks, and this year the talks are on the LRMP. And just for a little past history, last year they did a parallel type of program, and the focus was on water. And the first talk this year was given by Gary Jackson, who is a member of this panel, as Annette was, and others as you see them listed in the report. And as I listened to Gary go through the history of this panel, the report, and actually started back in 1935 when the RPC was originally established. And in the course of that, gave me a chance to discover 3 really interesting pamphlets, which fortunately Andrew has in his office, and just gave me a copy of, and I sent all of you the electronic copy that Andrew scanned, and those are the really good foundational documents that Carl Lohman wrote back in the late 30s and early 40s, and these are great foundational documents to the one that we're discussing this evening. And when I listened to Gary Jackson talk about the history and this final report, and he pointed out that this report really is the precursor of CSAR and then Big Small All. And it is not a document that has seen much sunshine, as we have talked about some of these environmental issues. And when I went home then and read the document, he really, in his conversation, outlined it quite in detail, but I did go home and read it. I realized that there is a lot in the document that has been accomplished, as Mr. Hall mentioned to me earlier before the meeting started. And then there's some things in the document that haven't been covered. And so I would like to hear a conversation from all of you concerning these. I have a couple of comments that I will read into the record, one from Hal Barnhart, who was also a member of the panel but couldn't be here this evening, and the other is from Norm Stenzel, who was not a member of the panel but has been very involved in all of the land use documents that have been prepared and have had citizen input in relationship to the county and land use. So first, I'd like to hear from my fellow committee members on their thoughts on the work of this panel. And I do want to underline, as Annette alluded to, but I don't think she gave themselves sufficient credit, This was a group of individuals who had no budget, they had no staff, and they did all of the work themselves in shaping what they were going to focus on. And if you have read the document, you will see the letter signed by Tony Fabry in the back, which said we left the resolution open-ended so that the people chosen to be on the panel could shape it and decide on the issues that they thought were important to focus upon. And it's an extremely good report, especially considering they had no budget and no staff. So they did it all themselves. And I thought Dwayne was going to be able to come this evening, and it was he and, wasn't it he and you, Annette, who actually wrote the final report. So thank you for that work. Thank you for that.
Any further comments? Yes, sir.
I guess to respond, Patsy, there were 3 of us here tonight on this board, or in the county board. It was around 2004 when this was ultimately passed. Myself, Mr. Langenheim, and Mr. J. In fact, I had just gotten on the board in 2004 and was part of passage of, I guess I remember it was Tony Fabry's blue ribbon panel, not rubbing any salt in the wound or anything, but.
I didn't say it was his panel, I just said it was his letter.
That's what was referred to.
Oh,
That's
I
how
see,
remember it.
sorry.
In fact, I think I still have my bound copy of it somewhere.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's dusty, and I
Okay,
guess I've just had it dusted off. Here it is. So, but you'd made mention, Ms. Petrie, about how things have been incorporated since this into the LRMP. And I'm just going to put you on the spot. I'm curious after reading this, how much of this actual document, the Blue Ribbon Panel document, did not make it into the LRMP in some form or manner, I guess is what I'm going to put you on the spot for.
are you asking me? Okay, well, that is one of the aspects that I hope at the end of our conversation this evening that we ask Mr. Hall to bring back to us so we can wrap our heads around those things that have been accomplished and those things that have not been accomplished. And in the comments that as I said, I will read into the record from Hal Barnhart, there are some things that he talks about that have been accomplished and those that have not.
I guess my point was, if I may reclaim, my point was, I wasn't talking about what had been passed or like you substantiated, accomplished, but what had been put into the LRMP, but not yet quite in the ordinance, is what I'm, I guess, asking you. Because I think by what you're referring to as accomplished is some things that have been already, but whatever form of ordinance or whatever, have been approved by this board or the county board itself. So are they of the same, or?
Well, I think they're mostly an evolution of what's here. Mr. Hall, do you have some comments?
Well, just, a few brief things. The LRMP itself was called for in the Environmental Advisory Panel report. It now exists. The revision of LISA, a significant project with really good results. It exists. The recent efforts on water planning that recent and proposed efforts on water planning that Andrew just discussed, that's in the environmental report. And I'm sure there are other things too. So I 10 years ago, and I think the county has actually done quite a bit. But there are still a lot of things that report saw as issues, some of which are in the LRMP and have yet to be done.
Right.
And we could report back on that if the committee would like that.
That's what I was getting to, that exact point, so thank you.
Yeah, I also, I was a little stumped by this because our work on the LRMP addresses almost everything that's in this report in some form or fashion. We had 10 objectives, 96 instances within the LRMP working on sustainability on almost every issue that this report came up. And it's an old report, but I think it was well written. And at the time, we had the need, obviously, for this work to be done. And I think the county board has taken that very seriously. I never read this before. Obviously, I wasn't on the board at the time, but we certainly, through ELOC, over the past 5 years that I was on as chair and vice chair, that's all we were working on, was sustainability. And in essence, not realizing it, working on many of the issues that you had in your report and have accomplished those. And so I don't want to waste any time of John, who has got an awful lot of things to do, but I'm not sure if there's enough specific items that have been left out of what we did at the LRMP and other work that we've done in the last 2 years for you to have to go and pick out a single or two items that may have been missed somewhere. I certainly think that we have a lot more work to do on approving those items, RPC working on forming the ordinances for the rest of the LRMP and put that into place before we do anything else, in my estimation.
Well, respectfully, I think that it is well worth our time. John is about to have one intern come on board and another hopefully will be coming on board. And these are very good directives for us to be looking at in it. And there's not only this report, but as I work my way through this report, there are several others. One report that Andrew worked on as to sustainability that's going on in the county that we could start tying together. And doing that will be more and more of our leverage points for us to decide what do we want to focus on for next year in relationship to land use and the LRMP. So I don't think it's a fruitless exercise at all to do this. And it's very clear that this report has not had much attention paid to it. And there are things in this report that are not necessarily in the LRMP. And so between the two, we should be able to pull together some dynamism that we can be working for next year.
I think Mr. Barnard was an integral part of the LRMP work sitting on that commission. And I certainly believe that he brought to the table almost every item that if I remember correctly, he was very vocal, John, if we remember that very well, on bringing issues to the table and having them incorporated in the LRMP. I just don't want to waste time on things that we have already accomplished for lack of a few details or crossing a T or an I. I think we've worked diligently. I think our goal should be to accomplish and complete the LRMP and make it part of what we need to have for the future, because the LRMP was not done for a short-term accomplishment or objectives. This was a long-term 25 to 30-year plan for the entire county, and the sustainability of which we certainly feel is important. So I would like to see us continue to work and put our efforts in completing the LRMP rather than try and drag up something that happened in 2004 that we've been working on for the last 10 years.
Important later.
You're done?
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else have any comments?
Oh, well, let me ask Mr. Hall, in his viewpoint, is there benefit for us to be reviewing this.
Don't put Mr. Hall in the middle of this thing, please. Okay? I was talking to you. He doesn't need to have a decision based on whether I'm right or you're right.
I'm not asking him whether either of us are right. The question is, it is his office, and your point is workload and what he sees for the summertime. So that's the reason for the question.
Does that do it? Okay, I'd like to make a comment. I'd like to compliment this advisory panel on an outstanding job. They've pretty much laid out what's happened, and they've led the way to a lot of things, and they've opened the way to further progress. Okay? Okay, a motion to receive and place on file. Any, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so done. Now, items to be approved by ELOC. Recreation and Entertainment License, Champaign County Fair Association Christian Music Festival, location 1302 North Kohler Avenue, Urbana, Illinois, July 2nd to 6th, 2014. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Okay, any comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passed. Recreation and Entertainment License, the Oasis, 2705 County Road 3000 North, Penfield, 3/1414-123114. Motion?
So moved. Second.
Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passed. Now, we have a motion to authorize the Department of Planning and Zoning to make handouts available to interested landowners regarding voluntary establishment of public-private partnerships to conserve woodlands and other significant areas of natural environmental quality in Champaign County and regarding site-specific natural resource management guidelines. Motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passed. Items to be approved by ELOC for recommendation to the county board. Item A, we have a series of minor amendments or the Champaign County Land Resources Management of the fourth. Let's call back and start over. Minor amendments for the Champaign County Land Resource Management Plan, LRMP. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
Susan Monty is there. If you
What?
have any- Susan Monty is here if you have any questions.
If you have any questions, we have Susan's here. Anybody want to say anything?
Susan and I exchanged a couple of emails this afternoon, and so just to get that exchange into the public record, one of the questions I asked Susan, because of all of the discussion that's going on across the country in relationship to climate change, and wondering if the description or definition of a 100-year floodplain is sufficient for our planning in relationship to flooding in the county, and some of the conversation across the country is looking at a 500-year floodplain map, and I'd like Susan to let everybody else know what her responses were to me on that.
Thank you. I provided Patsy with a map of the floodplain, as you see here in this minor amendment, and also included another layer on that of the 0.2% floodplain, which is essentially the 500-year flood. And in and of itself, that didn't offer a whole lot of intuitive understanding of storm intensity and what those impacts could be. And then I reminded Patsy that it's very likely that during 2014, our hazard mitigation plan will be updated and expanded, and that this would be a key focus to see what measures might be taken to address the issue and concerns that are being discussed with regard to increasing storm intensities. So as you recall, that plan was adopted 5 years ago, and we are awaiting funding for the 5-year update of that plan.
And may I have a follow-up, please?
What?
A follow-up?
Go right ahead.
The second aspect was a suggestion to Susan to include in this amendment, actually, the definition of a 100-year flood, because what the across-the-board impression of what this means and what it actually means are two different things, and it'd probably be useful to add that to the document. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything further? Yes, sir.
What is this little annexation Muhammad's wanting? 37. It's one little dot.
What that refers to is an actual annexation that has occurred over the past year.
Okay,
So it's simply an update to the boundaries.
okay.
Anything further? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. All right. 9B, case 768-AT-13. Amend the Champaign County zoning ordinance by amending the requirements in section 6.1.3 for standard conditions for restricting landing areas and heliport restricted landing areas. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item 9C, proposed financial institution for the California Ridge Wind Farm Reclamation Agreement escrow account to be U.S. Bank National Association. Okay, any comments?
Well, I have a question. According to the memo, both these documents have not been reviewed by legal counsel. Is that still the case?
No, they have been.
They have been now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments?
And there are no problems, I gather.
Huh?
I haven't been told of any. I think they're satisfied, as far as I know.
All right, thank you.
Any further comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. D, proposed escrow agreement for the California Ridge Wind Area Farm. This enacts the thing. Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passed. All opposed, no. Okay, monthly reports. Have we got any monthly reports?
February.
What? February.
They're in the packet.
Motion to place on file?
What?
Motion to place on file.
Motion to place on file?
Let's move to place, motion to place it on file.
So moved.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Is there any other business that we can mention? What's this? Oh, all right. Chair's report. I'm keeping it a secret. Designation of items to be placed on the consent agenda, 9A, B, C, and D. Any comments?
That's it. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Free at last.
Those were just approved by the committee.